Now, I have some questions.
Yes.
Okay, now you were talking about the mordant.
Right.
Now, we've got all these plants out there boiling.
Right.
Now, the mordant is not in that, is it?
No mordant at all.
Okay, so what you've done is you've taken the mordant and you've mixed it with water, and then you've boiled it for some amount of time, and then you dyed undyed wool.
Yes.
And now we're going to take the wool that has
Been mordanted.
right. And we're going to stick it in the different color waters.
Right. And the
Okay.
idea is that this way we will see the result of 4 different mordants.
Okay.
If we hadn't done that, if we had put the mordant into the dye bath, then all we would have would be the dye bath with that particular mordant in it.
Okay, so if we're going to go home and try and do this, would we normally put the mordant in the dye bath?
Yes, you could.
It's up to you.
It's up to you.
That's what you want to do.
The mordant makes the dye material, the dyes, the wool, more receptive to the dye. And there are some dyes like mordants, walnuts, that actually don't need a mordant. The walnut's
Okay.
such a strong dye that you don't really need one. But a lot of the others, they do need a mordant to make the dye stuff stick onto the wool.
Okay.
And if you don't have a mordant, you get a very weak result. And I'm hoping that when we do our test today and you have one piece of yarn that's not mordanted, you should be able to see the ones that show the mordant and the ones that don't. And you should see one's brighter and one's duller.
Okay, now I looked in your book, and you don't have anything from blueberries or from beets.
Well, beets,
They don't give the best.
I was always told,
Blueberries give you a grayish,
Oh, okay.
faintly
Yes,
blue.
Just because they're purple.
No,
they
doesn't mean-
stain.
Okay.
They stain your clothing.
Right.
And you think that because they stain your clothing, they would make a lovely dye, but they don't.
Beets will make a sort of a dingy.
Yeah.
Grey.
Grayish.
And red cabbage too. All these things that you think would be lovely, you know, you could get a lovely red from, don't work. But one thing we do have here are, what are those little early flowers that pop out? Gold, what are the very early ones we get?
Crocus.
No, wild.
Buttercups?
Marshmallow.
Violets.
No, those tiny little ones that come out. Isn't that silly? I think, remember,
Snowdrops.
that you use the root, and the native people, bloodroot.
Oh, bloodroot.
Bloodroot.
Now, Rita Buchanan says beware of bloodroot because the steam from the dye bath can affect your sinuses and your
So
breathing.
does it from marigolds. I couldn't handle this bottle.
Okay.
I mean, my allergies are really rampant right now because of that time, but
So, well, bloodroots are lovely, and they come out very early.
Yeah, they
But
come
I've
lovely.
tried, but you need so much root that really, I mean, unless you're living in an absolute bloodroot area, the trouble is that you need too much. But apparently the native people use so much.
Yeah, she did lots of things.
That was a very good bread for them.
I've never dyed with it. I've got a big patch now. I could maybe
So I have a big patch too.
try some, but do it outside.
But when you use a root of anything, it means you destroy the plant. And you know, that's the trouble. I mean, a walnut is expendable.
use from wool.
You use the plant, the flowers for wood, don't we?
No, you use the leaves. And if it's in bloom, it's too late.
Oh,
It's a
really?
biennial.
For which?
Woad.
Woad.
What is woad?
It's a blue dye.
It's a bit like mustard.
Oh, okay.
And in England, they used it to paint themselves when the Romans were coming across.
That's what they say.
They painted themselves in blue colours and frightened the Roman soldiers away. But I don't quite know how they did it. It's very difficult. But also, I don't know if you've read this, but woad was such a nuisance that they weren't allowed to grow it. It just took over the whole countryside.
There are some places in the States where it's considered a noxious weed.
Yeah.
It will pop around, but you can control it.
But I guess in England they were so busy painting themselves with it, they needed a lot. Anyway.
Well, at that point, they probably didn't know what to do with it, so.